Welcome to this week's Dress and Respect video blog. We're going to be looking today at the whole question of migration to and from Britain, and we started filming inside one of the new posted Cllr Polish shops that have opened up in our city in the last 18 months. The Polish community in Preston has expanded quite significantly over that period in time, and this has fed into a debate in Britain about the number of migrants who are travelling into Britain to carry out work. As with all questions of immigration, there are a whole number of racist myths that circulate around this question. It's often said that there are more people coming to Britain than leaving each year, and although the figures in 2007 would back that up, there's over 500,000 people moved into the country and 400,000 people left the country. But what the figures don't tell you is that actually the majority of those people who migrated into Britain only stayed for 3 months. Over half of them returned to the place of origin after that 3-month period. So there's an awful lot of myths about migration into and out of Britain, and there's also a long and very healthy tradition of people migrating from one part of the country to the other, or from different countries into Britain, where they are at the heart of the wealth creation that Britain now experiences. In fact, if we were to look at how Britain has become as wealthy as it is, the 4th richest country in the world, you would have to say that a great deal of that wealth has been built on the back of British workers and those who have migrated from overseas to help build Britain's welfare system and its industries together. That's why we're starting off here, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. Like most towns and cities across Britain, Preston was built on migration. The first migrants into the city came in the end of the 18th and beginning of the 19th century. They came from the surrounding areas. They were sucked into Preston to work in the new factories and textiles as the Industrial Revolution began. They came to work. They were also being pushed away from their homes in the country areas surrounding Preston. Rural poverty, the agricultural revolution, land enclosures meant there was nothing for them at home, so they left friends and family behind and migrated into the city. 50 years later, the second wave of migrants came to Preston. Now they weren't drawn from the cities, from the rural areas around Preston, but this time they came from Ireland. Preston was always a Catholic city, but the Irish immigrants brought their religion with them, brought their social clubs with them, and they came again to work in the factories and textile mills. But once again, not only were they pulled into Preston, they were also pushed away from their homeland. In the 1840s and the 1850s, it was the potato famine that forced people away from Ireland to go and look for some security, a job and a future for their families in the industrial heartland of England. And so the pattern continued throughout the 19th and the 20th century. Industrial capitalism in Britain was constantly looking for new supplies of labour, and workers from across the world would be pushed from their country of origin, looking to better themselves, and would come to Britain. In the early 20th century, there were Jewish migrants who came to Preston and set up their own synagogue. They came to work, but they were pushed out of Russia and Poland in the face of pogroms launched by the Tsarist regime in that part of the world. In the post-Second World War period, it was people from Afro-Caribbean origin and people from the Asian subcontinent who left the poverty in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, of Jamaica and Trinidad, and came to work in Britain in the post-war era. Without them, the National Health Service and the welfare services that we take for granted simply wouldn't look anything like what they do today. They provided nurses, cleaners, doctors, dentists, all the professionals, all the services, all the workers who provided those services and those jobs. So migration has brought a huge amount to Preston and to Britain. At the present time, it's estimated that the most recent migrants to Britain put into our economy £2.5 billion more than they take out through all use of services. They're a huge benefit. Families of migrants have helped build this country. But it's not just that. I actually think what a boring and drab place Britain would be without the various different peoples from across the globe. Think of all the things we take for granted. whether it's music and cultural activities, or whether it's the array of foods that we eat and take for granted. Even fish and chips. Fish and chips actually originate with Jewish migrants who brought fish and chips to Britain when they were expelled from Portugal in the 18th century. So much that we take for granted in British life has come from the mix of populations that make up Britain, and that's why in respect we celebrate our multiculturalism, celebrate the diverse communities that we have, and look forward to a world where people, just like businesses, just like armies, are free to move around the globe wherever they so wish. That's a future that is well worth fighting for.